everybody. It's good to be almost home. Hey, guys, I live in Delaware, okay? And by the way, I'm a big Pennsylvania guy, but you have an advantage in Philly. One, I married a Philly girl. Two, you're between Scranton and Wilmington. You know, Scranton, you guys have no sense of humor, man. There you go.
What do I say?
Whatever you want to say. You want to make a speech?
Yeah.
What's your name?
Yuri.
Did you have a question?
Yes.
You want to tell me what it is?
Yuri Newman. That sounds crazy.
Can't answer that one.
What was the last country you traveled to?
The last country I've traveled, I'm thinking what's the last one I was in. I've been to 89. I met with 89 heads of state so far. So I'm trying to think, where was the last place I was? It's hard to keep track. I mean, yeah, you're right, Ireland. That's where it was. How'd you know that? Oh, you're kidding me. Oh, right, man. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's Aurelia and for AFP. I had a question on the climate crisis. You just mentioned the G20. Just this week, the United States warned that if there is no phasing out of fossil fuels, it won't be possible to reach the goals of the Paris Agreement. There was no agreement at the G20 on fossil fuels. How concerned are you about this lack of consensus?
It wasn't so much an agreement that we would try to meet the goals of G20. The United States is going to meet those goals, by the way. We're going to exceed those goals. A lot of other countries are as well. But we want to give those countries that don't have the economic wherewithal and did not cause the problem in the first place. For example, I met with Lula in Brazil. I started off way back in the 80s with a really fine Republican senator named Dick Lugar. We said, here's what we're going to do. If you owe us money, we're going to forgive your debt if you maintain your forest, because they become carbon sinks. They're the things that take carbon out of the air. And so we're talking to what we should be and the countries that cleared their land and put cattle on it and farming and did all the things that increased development. They, in fact, are the main reason why we've gotten as far down the road to disaster here as we have. And so it seems that if we have the economic capacity, those nations, should be getting together and providing help for the nations that don't have the wherewithal to do it. The economic wherewithal, the infrastructure wherewithal. And that's why, for example, I mentioned, in the interest of time, I just mentioned Angola again. Angola has the capacity to generate megawatts of energy through solar energy. They don't have the economic means to do that. Isn't it in the interest of the whole world if they're in fact able to generate significant capacity to absorb, to prevent carbon from being released in the air? I think it is. So what we're trying to do is help those nations, particularly in the global south, where they're not as wealthy, where there are not as many opportunities, to be able to deal with the things that they want to deal with. For example, and I'll end with this, there is more carbon absorbed from the atmosphere on a daily basis, and I'll look to my friend John Kerry, who's forgotten more about this than most people know. Correct me if I get this wrong, John, but I'm quite sure I'm right. And that is that there's more carbon observed from the air into the Amazon region, into the ground, than admitted in the entire United States on the same basis. Now imagine if people go in and do what we did 150, 250 years ago, and cut down the forest and start farming in that area. No longer have that great carbon sink. It would be a gigantic problem. So we should be going to areas, whether it's in the Congo or other places, as the G7 nations and as the wealthy G20 nations, and providing the kind of infrastructure they need to be able to benefit. And guess what? In addition to helping the environment overall, and the only existential threat humanity faces, even more frightening than a nuclear war, is global warming going above 1.5 degrees in the next 10 years. And we're in real trouble. There's no way back from that. And so there's a lot we can do in the meantime. For example, that pipeline, or that railroad we're talking about going across from India throughout the Middle East and across the Mediterranean and all through Europe, that's going to have hydrogen pipeline there. This is going to significantly reduce the amount of carbon emitted in the air, but it costs a lot of money to put that down. And the world's going to say it's in our interest, collective interest, to do it. So I have not given up at all on the notion that we're going to be able to, how can I say it? I think we can triple the renewable capacity for, as it relates to global warming, by the year 2030. Countries following the IRA playbook, which is the one we passed, clean energy jobs are going to create manufacturing jobs. For example, the consequence of what we've done, we have the strongest economy in the world today. Right now, today, the United States of America has the strongest economy in the world. In the world. Now, we've got more to do, but we have the strongest economy in the world. And one of the reasons we're doing it, we changed the mechanism how we deal with this. And that is, instead of trickle-down economy, that is, if the wealthy and the corporations do very well, everybody's going to do well. Well, the truth of the matter is, I've never bought that theory, but I think the times have changed, and a lot of leading economists are beginning to agree with me. Just flat, straight-out academic economists. And that is, we should build economic growth from the middle out and the bottom up. When that happens, everybody does well. Everybody does well. The wealthy still do very, very well. They have no problem. You can still be a billionaire under that system as well. But you're going to start paying your taxes if I didn't do it. That's a different issue. But all kidding aside, so I think the other thing is dawning on people. Many of you are foreign policy experts who've been engaged for a long time. Did you ever think you'd be sitting at a G20 conference where everyone was preoccupied with the notion of global warming? Not a joke. Did you ever think that? And there's my brother loves having these famous lines from movies that he always quotes. And one of them is there's a movie about John Wayne. He's an Indian scout. And they're trying to get I think it was Apache, one of the great tribes of America, back on the reservation. And he's standing with the Union, so we're all on their horses and their saddles. And there's 3 or 4 Indians in headdresses, and the Union soldiers basically saying to the Indians, come with me, we'll take care of you, everything will be good. And the Indian looks at John Wayne and points to the Union soldier and says, he's a lion, dog-faced pony soldier. Well, there's a lot of lion, dog-faced pony soldiers out there about global warming. But not anymore. All of a sudden, we're realizing it's a problem. And there's nothing like seeing the light. Let's see. I'm just following my orders here. Staff, if anybody haven't spoken, I ain't calling on you. I'm calling on, I said I have 5 questions.
Melissa Price, Lonnie Price, Mary Bush, Doris Harris, David Moore, Phyllis Maxey, Darryl Purvis, Linda Herman, Erica Moore, Brenda Odoms, April Johnson, Lavette Herman, and Wendy Kelly. As I've told some of the survivors, we all have had experiences, not the same, but getting that sudden experience you lost someone is devastating. It's absolutely devastating. And we kind of understand it. But I've heard incredible stories about the spirit of these families and the resilience and your bravery. The town of Rolling Stone will be back and will be with you every step of the way. And what did I say? I said Rolling Fork, Rolling Stone. I got my mind going here. We'll be back and we'll be with you every step of the way. So God bless you all and God bless our first responders. Thank you.
My name's Amelia, and where are your grandsons or granddaughters?
We're okay. Her name is Amelia. She wants to know where my granddaughters are. One granddaughter lives in Pennsylvania, in Philadelphia. One granddaughter lives in New York. One granddaughter lives in Washington. One granddaughter lives in Wilmington, Delaware. And the other grandsons, my grandson lives in California. I left somebody out, didn't I? Anyway, Philadelphia, Wilmington, and I did say 5. You're right. So let me see. I got 1 in New York, 2 in Philadelphia. There's a 3. No, 3 because I got 1 grand. At any rate, thank you all again for your patience, for being here. Look, there's an awful lot to be proud of, and the way in which women's sports has come along is just incredible. And you're changing and it's not just in sports; it's across the board in every single thing, and it's really neat to see. Since I've got 4 granddaughters, we had some pretty good athletes. I wasn't a bad athlete; my brothers weren't, but all the real athletes in this family are women. Yeah, you got it. You got it. At any rate, so thank you all for being here, Coach. I'm going to turn this over to you, and I again want to congratulate you. I assume I'll be seeing you next year and next year. So. And by the way, well, Mr. President, I just demoted you, Mr. Prime Minister. It's great to have you back. And the past few months we've met each other in San Diego, and then we met in Belfast, and we met in Hiroshima, and now we're here. We're going to solve all the problems of the world right in this next 20 minutes. But Prime Minister Churchill and Roosevelt met here a little over 70 years ago, and they asserted that the strength of the partnership between Great Britain and the United States was the strength of the free world. I still think there's truth to that assertion. And together we're providing economic, humanitarian aid and security assistance to Ukraine in their fight against the brutal invasion of the Russians. And we've worked out an arrangement with AUKUS, with Australia, to make the Indian Ocean and the whole area safer and more secure. And we built on the Good Friday Agreement, 25 years, and keep that going. We can talk about that a little bit. As NATO allies, we're working together to help provide the collective defense of all of us, and we're going to further. I hope we're going to discuss today plans to further strengthen our economic relationship. And the global economy is undergoing, I think, the greatest transformation that's occurred since the Industrial Revolution. And something you know a lot about, AI, is going to play a big part in that. I want to hear your views on that as well. And we don't have a closer ally than Great Britain, and we're delighted you're here.
Mr. President, thank you. Thank you for the warm words, but also thank you for welcoming me to the White House and for allowing me to stay in Blair House, which I've got to say, the spare room in the flat in number 10 Downing Street doesn't quite compare. So it's been a real privilege. And as you said, it's daunting to think of the conversations that our predecessors had in this room when they had to speak of wars that they fought together, peace won together, and incredible change in the lives of our citizens. And again, for the first time in over half a century, we face a war on the European continent. And as we've done before, the US and the UK have stood together to support Ukraine and stand up for the values of democracy and freedom and make sure that they prevail, as I know we will. But also, I completely agree with what you said. Our economies are seeing perhaps the biggest transformation since the Industrial Revolution, as new technologies provide incredible opportunities, but also give our adversaries more tools for harm. But one thing I know won't change, I'm confident won't change, is the strength of our partnership, our friendship, and we will put our values front and center, as we've always done, to deliver for the British and American people.
If we had time, I'd take you over to the residence where I live. And when you were over in Blair House, President Truman was there because they were redoing the White House. He put a hole in the Truman balcony exists now because of Blair House being built. About that second balcony you see, the first balcony you see going up. So at any rate, and there's an awful lot of stories that are told, probably a bunch apocryphal about the former Prime Minister like to take baths of the, anyway.
Wandering around at 3 a.m. Yeah, Winston Churchill bothering Mrs. Roosevelt. Yes. So you won't, don't worry, you won't see me there bothering you and the First Lady.
Anyway, welcome.
Well, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me, Jim.
Good to be here. Thank you, everybody.
Great, thank you.
So today, I applaud China for stepping up. I applaud Canada. You can tell what I'm thinking about China. I won't get into that yet. I applaud Canada for stepping up with similar programs, opening new legal pathways for 1,500 migrants to come to Canada from countries in the Western Hemisphere. At the same time, the United States and Canada will work together to discourage unlawful border crossings and fully implement and the updated Safe Third Country Agreement. Finally, as we advance our shared prosperity and security, we must never lose sight of our shared values, because our values literally the linchpin holding everything else together. Welcoming refugees and seeking asylum seekers is a part of who Canadians and Americans are. We just surveyed the damage. I want you to know, whatever it takes, as long as it takes. I look at your congressmen and senators and governor and lieutenant governor. We're going to get it done for you. But get it done the way you want it done, not get it done somebody else's way. No, I mean it. I don't want to compare difficulties, but we have a little sense, Jill and I, what it's like to lose a home. Years ago, now 15 years ago, I was in Washington doing Meet the Press. It was a sunny Sunday, and lightning struck at home on a little lake. It's outside of our home, not a lake, a big pond, and hit a wire and came up underneath our home into the heating ducts, the air conditioning duct. To make a long story short, I almost lost my wife, my 67 Corvette, and my cat. But all kidding aside, I watched the firefighters, the way they responded. You know, there's an old expression. I grew up right across the street from a fire hall in Claymont, Delaware. And the expression is, God made man, then he made a few firefighters. You're all crazy, thank God. The only people who run into flames to help other people. And they ran into flames to save my wife and save my family. Not a joke. The smoke, and the firefighters here can tell you, sometimes smoke is so thick from the windows out, it was that thick inside the home. And we were insured. We did not have any problem. But being out of our home for a better part of a year was difficult. I can only imagine what it's like to lose your home completely, burned to the ground, And more importantly, all the things that matter to you, from that ring he gave you when you were 19 years old, from that special letter that came for your son or your daughter, the little things that matter most, the album, the family albums, all of it is a touchstone to all the things we care about and lose. Imagine denying poor and disabled Americans on Medicaid, not Medicare, the treatment they need for asthma, diabetes, so the wealthiest Americans can keep cheating on their taxes. And by that, I'm saying every wealthy American cheats on their taxes. But we have 1,000 billionaires in America. You know the average tax rate they pay? 8%. 8%. I proposed a better way. How about starting with big oil? Guess what? We're still going to need some oil. But they made up $200 billion in profit last year in the middle of a global energy crisis because they weren't reinvesting in refineries. And they received in the process an additional $30 billion subsidy from the taxpayers. I'm going to cut those wasteful subsidies for big oil, saving taxpayers $30 billion. MAGA Republicans want to protect those subsidies for big oil. We just finally beat Big Pharma by giving Medicare the power to negotiate lower drug costs. I want to keep going. These principles of democracy are essential in a free society, but they have always been embattled. Today, let's be clear. While we've made progress, democracy is still at risk. This is not hyperbole. It's a simple truth. A simple truth. I've made the defense and protection and preservation of American democracy the central issue of my presidency. From the speech I made at Gettysburg in the inaugural address to the anniversary of January 6th insurrection, to Independence Hall in Philadelphia, to the speech I made at Union Station in Washington. I've spoken about the danger of election denialism, political violence, and the battle for the soul of America. Today in America, to honor an institution devoted to the defense of democracy, named in honor of a true patriot, I'm here to speak about another threat to our democracy that we all too often ignore. The threat to our political institutions, to our Constitution itself, and the very character of our nation. I would not be here were it not for my local fire company in Wilmington, Delaware. They saved my life. I had a cranial aneurysm. It was in the middle of a snowstorm. Not a joke. I couldn't figure out how they were going to, President Reagan was nice enough to send Air Force Helicopter 1, take me down, but it couldn't fly. And so my fire department came up, put me in the back, and took me on heavy snow on the day I went down to Walter Reed, because that's where I had to get for this operation. I got there for a 9-hour operation, saved my life. And not a joke. My firefighters, the guys I grew up with, they saved my life. It also saved my home and my wife's life. When I was away, it was the last day that the most famous guy doing Meet the Press in Washington, D.C., and I was doing the program. And what happened was there was a lightning struck a little pond behind my house, hit a wire, came up through the basement of my home, and 3 stories, and the smoke literally ended up being that thick, literally that thick. You've seen it, you guys have seen it. I wasn't there, and my wife was there, and my dog and my cat, and my 67 Corvette. But all kidding aside, they saved my wife, and got her out, saved my home. And I can think of many occasions where there are, it's personal not just to me, but thousands of people. Unfortunately, I've presided. As my mother would say, that's the Irish of it. That's the Irish of it. Whenever we'd say something was unusual, she said, Joey, that's the Irish of it. And it is the Irish of it. I'm so proud to be here, so proud to be in Louth, so proud to be with, I don't want to ruin the reputation, but the Carneys are relatives. we take great faith. And the closing comment I make, you see this tie I have with the shamrock on it? This was given to me by one of these guys right here. Was a hell of a rugby player, and they beat the hell out of the black and tans. Oh God, it was but it was when you were at a Soldier Field, wasn't it? The game, Chicago. And after it was all over, he gave my brother, allegedly for me, but if it wasn't, I still took it. I still got the tie. I wear it with great pride. And so, thank you all for the homecoming welcome. The bad news for all you is we'll be back. There's no way to keep us out. Most people would much rather stay in the country they are if they can feed their families, be safe, send their kids to school, and have opportunity. It's not like people, you've heard me say it before, it's not like people are sitting around a table and somewhere in Central America and say, I got a great idea. Let's sell everything we have. Let's give it to a coyote, a smuggler. They'll take us on a harrowing journey for thousands of miles to get to the United States. Then we're going to legally cross the border. They're going to drop us in a desert, and we're faced where we don't speak the language. Won't that be fun? I'm not being facetious. Well, President Harris led this effort to make things better in the countries from which they are leaving. And thanks to her leadership, she's been able to generate more than $3.2 billion from the private sector to create jobs and opportunities in El Salvador, Honduras, and Guatemala. Tell people stay in their own countries, home countries, where it'll be safer and they have some opportunities. We've also... I was just thanking, anyway, I started off without you. And I sold a lot of state secrets and a lot of very important things that we shared. Now, all kidding aside, look, we're teaming up to design and develop new technologies that are going to transform the lives of our people around the world. And together, we're lifting the private and public partners to make this possible, including launching a new program between India and America, American astronauts, Indian astronauts, and entrepreneurs, scientists, students. Simply put, our countries are taking innovation and cooperation to a new level in our relationship. And thanks in large part to the folks around this table. So my message today is really simple. We've got to keep it up, and we have to make sure we aim even higher. We're going to see more technological change. You've heard me say this a number of times, in the next 10 years than we saw in the last 50 years, and maybe in the next few years, in the last 50 years. And we need your help. I'm here today to talk about what we're doing to invest in America, invest in Pennsylvania, invest in our clean energy future, and to talk about the progress we made building an economy from the middle out and the bottom up. You know, I came to office determined to strengthen the middle class. I often say, and I mean it sincerely, you know, Wall Street, good folks down there, but they didn't build the middle class. They didn't build America. The middle class was built by the middle class, and the unions built the middle class, and to change the economic direction of this country. Because I got tired of trickle-down economics. I've never been a big fan. If the wealthy do very well, I'm a capitalist. I like the wealthy to be able to let people be wealthy. But if the mere fact they do well doesn't mean everybody else does well. I watched my dad growing up. There's not a whole lot of benefit trickle down on his kitchen table as a consequence of trickle-down economics to what everyone from the Financial Times and Wall Street Journal has become my different philosophy. I don't think they started off trying to be complimentary, but they started calling them Bidenomics. And our plans work in Bidenomics. We're here. I think we can pull all this together. I really do. Well, I haven't had the occasion to go to East Palestine. There's a lot going on here, and I just haven't been able to break. I was thinking whether I'd go to East Palestine this week, but I then was reminded I've got to go literally around the world. I'm going from Washington to India to Vietnam and so it's going to be a while. But we're making sure that East Palestine has what they need materially in order to deal with their problems. Yes. The answer is
I'm confident because I can't imagine the Congress saying we're not going to help. There are going to be fights about things that don't relate to this, trying to connect this to other money or not, you know. But I think we'll get through it. I just can't imagine. He won in spite of the fact I campaigned for him. Congratulations to the longest serving leader in the history of the United States Senate, Mitch McConnell. Where are you, Mitch? And congratulations to Chuck Schumer, another, another term as Senate Minority Leader. I think you, only this time you have a slightly bigger majority, Mr. Leader. You're the majority leader. About that much bigger? Yeah. Well, I tell you what, I want to give special recognition to someone who I think is going to be considered the greatest speaker in the history of the House of Representatives, Nancy Pelosi. Folks, the story of America is a story of progress and resilience, of always moving forward, of never, ever giving up. It's a story unique among all nations. We're the only country that has emerged from every crisis we've ever entered stronger than we got into it. Look, folks, that's what we're doing again. 2 years ago, the economy was reeling. I stand here tonight after we've created, with the help of many people in this room, 12 million new jobs, more jobs created in 2 years. Remember who we are. We're the United States of America, and there's nothing beyond our capacity when we do it together. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. We can get this done. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I mean it. Thank you. Now, as some of you know, I'd usually come down and say hi to all of you. They tell me there's a storm coming in. Is that right? Is that still the deal? That's the truth. Now, don't make a lie. As that scene in the John Wayne movie, don't make me a dog-faced lion pony soldier. All right, well, I tell you what. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to ask the White House photographer to come up. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to stand. I usually shake everybody's hand. But I'm going to stand in front of each section. No, I really mean it. And if you can see the camera, they can see you. And it's the least consequential part of this whole meeting for you, I promise. All right? God save the Queen, man. And I'm proud to announce 2 critical steps that my administration is taking to protect American air passengers. First, we just launched a new website, flightsright.gov, flightsright.gov. It features a dashboard we created last fall to give travelers more transparency into airlines' compensation policies. So, if it's the airline's fault and your flight was canceled or delayed, you can check the dashboard to see how the airline should be compensating you, like rebooking a flight or accommodating your hotel room and your meals. And today, we've expanded that dashboard to include airlines guaranteeing additional compensation, like cash, miles, or travel vouchers. But here's the deal. If you look at the dashboard today, you'll find that only 2 airlines guarantee additional compensation beyond the ticket refund. If your flight is very delayed or canceled, and the airline could have prevented that from, you deserve more than just getting the price of your ticket. You deserve to be fully compensated. Your time matters. The impact on your life matters. This working? Yeah, it's working. How are you all doing? Please take a seat if you have one. I said that, thank you very much. I said that when I was seeking the nomination. I said, take a seat, everybody. And there wasn't a single chair in the place. I said, that Biden really is stupid. He doesn't know it. Where's Doug? Congressman. He's around here somewhere. Oh, there you are. Doug, thanks for the passport into town. Doug and I have something in common. We both married way above our station. Way above our station. I want to thank you all very much. Look, good afternoon to the Steam Fitters Local 602. And President McManus, Mark, thank you. You've been a great friend for a long time. I appreciate it. Megan. The CBC member staff in the room here include those who serve across my administration, like Secretary of Housing and Urban Affairs, great Marcia Fudge, who's joined by several other cabinet members. Tonight's awardees, Hakeem Jeffries, a leader with integrity and courage. Courage. And Karen Bass, a visionary mayor and does whatever she says she's going to do. And Corinne Jean-Pierre, my press secretary. No wonder I'm doing okay. And Justin Jones, a new voice who gives us hope for the future, Justin. And two of the great artists of our time representing the groundbreaking legacy of hip-hop in America, LL Cool J. By the way, that man's got biceps bigger than my thighs. I think he's... And MC Light, both of you, thank you. Because you both have the light off on the mic, you know you're all here, and this was a new addition. Mike Bibbins, 40 years producing music that lifts our souls. You've been a good friend for a long time. It's an honor to spend King Holiday with the National Action Network and with the King family, Martin and family. And understand, Martin III, we celebrate a legacy of your beloved father and mother. They work for the beloved community. But congratulations today, the honorees, including your wife, who I understand is birthday today? Well, look, my wife has a rule in her family. When somebody's birthday, you sing happy birthday. You ready? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Valen. Happy birthday to you. Well, it's hell turning 30, but you got to put up with it. And Nancy Pelosi, who I think is literally, not figuratively, the greatest leader, House Speaker in American history. And Mignon Moore, a mover and a shaker in politics.